Live!
Yay! All right, happy Thursday, May 26th, everybody. Let's see, we have a couple of general announcements as usual. Free PHP Storm licenses for anyone who is interested in being a Backdrop CMS contributor. If you're already in the Backdrop Contrib group, send an email to info@backdropcms.org and we'll send you a license. If you're not part of the group, all you have to do is contribute a module, theme, or layout, or offer to be a co-maintainer or an issue queue maintainer on any of those projects. As long as you're contributing to the Backdrop project, fill out an application and we will try and get you a license. We accept donations, so if you want to make a donation to Backdrop CMS, you can go to backdropcms.org/contribute, and we're currently $50 away from being able to order a new batch of t-shirts. So if you're interested in new t-shirts, you can make a donation today, and we'll send you either a thank you gift of a t-shirt or a hoodie, and then we'll get some more t-shirts ordered for everyone. And free Calabox beta is out now. If you're interested in setting up a local development environment that works natively with Backdrop, Calabox is the way to go. It is out, and you can get it at calabox.io. Don't think we have any updates from the PMC this week, but I don't know if there are any other PMC members here who want to make an update for any reason. I don't have anything. All right. So with that, let's turn it over to Nate to talk about community growth.
Hey, another exciting week in the world of the Backdrop Contrib land. We have 266 total projects available for Backdrop CMS on GitHub. That's 4 new projects since last week. 182 projects have official releases on backdropcms.org. 5 new projects have had official releases since last week. And 262 total releases of all of those modules, including 10 new releases since last week. So lots of activity going on in the world of Contrib. It's awesome to see those new modules coming in and continuing to be ported, and new versions coming out of those modules or themes or layouts. I know lots of work has been done updating layouts to make them all 1.4 compatible. That's just excellent to have those updates all coming in. We have 53 total members of the Backdrop Contrib group. We have 12 pending applications of people that have applied but haven't actually put up their projects anywhere at this point. So if you have an outstanding application, we'd love for you to complete it. We're anxiously awaiting more contributors and would be more than happy to help anybody through that process. There are 241 total user counts on backdropcms.org. 3 new users signed up since last week. We had some reports this past week that the login link isn't visible because we have too many links down the left-hand side now of our website. So a lot of people don't know or possibly can't scroll down in the left-hand sidebar. I think it's mostly just the scrolling on the left-hand sidebar throws people off. But we'll talk about that more in the backdropcms.org section of the agenda. Let's see, infrastructure is the next item on the agenda here. Things around Backdrop, the software that aren't Backdrop itself. First item on the list here is testing infrastructure update. We've started a new issue for looking at our overall testing structure at 1906 is the issue number. And we've already done some tremendous work to speed up Travis since we ended up on their kind of slower infrastructure. Gore is now doing a lot of work building an alternative. It previously had been called, help me out, Gore, with the name. There's so many CI providers. Yeah, Git LC, thank you. It previously had been called Git LC, but now he's rebranded it or working to rebrand it into Zen CI. And so Zen CI is what he's been working on. It already is the infrastructure that provides our sandboxes. And he's seeing if he can expand that out to be a test runner as well. And we already have some preliminary proof of concepts that are up and running doing our testing suite. Right now it takes about 8 minutes. Is that about right to run the test suite? With dual running between PHP 5.3 and PHP 7. So yeah, it looks pretty promising. I think our current Travis runtimes are about 15, 18 minutes or so. But there are some other restrictions, like we can only run 5 tests at a time. And because we split our tests up into 6 right now, we can really only test 1 pull request at a time. And if I'm merging, it's also testing the merges. And so if we're doing a lot of changes all at once, we get backed up pretty quickly. Yeah, and there's a big delay to start up a Travis test, like a couple minutes or so sometimes. So that's really exciting work. Really great to see that coming along, and it will be so great to have our testing infrastructure be fast. We also, since we moved to the new Travis infrastructure, have also been getting more inconsistent test results than previously, which we haven't quite figured out what the cause of that has been. So hopefully those things will go hand in hand, and they may all get fixed together. So more of that issue is at 1906. We're actually still looking at other providers as well. I've been in talks with Shippable people. There was another one that I was just working with today that pretty well has completely been ruled out at this point. I guess it's not really worth mentioning, but anyway, we're still looking at alternatives. But it looks like there's a good chance that Gore's doing all of this work. There's a good chance that he's going to get finished making an alternative before I can find one that would work for free at least. Okay, well that's where we are on that. Again, the issue is 1906 to kind of check in on testing infrastructure. Let's see, Drush. We have a working Drush extension that Jeff Serendipity has been kind of taking the lead on. Jeff, do you want to give any updates on the Drush extension?
Yeah, just wanted to say that we're making progress on Drush up and Drush enable and disable. On the Drush enable and disable, I would like you to look at the methodology being used there. It's not quite working. I'm trying to leverage the Backdrop API functions. So if you wouldn't mind giving a quick look at that at some point. And that's what I wanted to say about Drush.
Cool. Yeah. Have we double-checked if it's possible to include Drush in the Pantheon repository? I know you said that you tried it once and it didn't work, but it's supposed to. There's some capability for us to put the extension in the repository and it will work on Pantheon.
Yeah, I did try it at one point, and then I talked to Greg Anderson at DrupalCon, and he encouraged me to try that again, and I haven't been back to it, so I think it's worth another look at that method.
Okay. Yeah, that would just be excellent to get it so that when we push out new updates to Pantheon, that run update.php button just doesn't do anything right now. And I think that if we put it in there, then it would. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Jeff. All right, let's see. Next item on the agenda is backdropcms.org and all of the work that's going on there. Jen, do you want to take the lead?
I have one question before we move on to that. For Backdrop 1.5, have we pushed, or 1.4, have we pushed that to Pantheon yet?
We have not pushed it to Pantheon yet.
Would it make sense to test that Drush up thing in conjunction with the next push to Pantheon?
Maybe. I'm not really sure I want to delay the pushing out to Pantheon, but
do we know when that's going to happen yet? Because I mean, if it's still a couple days away, maybe we could work on testing the Drush up thing today and then pushing to Pantheon tomorrow.
Yeah, it's moderately important, but on the other hand, we've had a lot of bug fixing releases that also required running update.php. Like pretty much every third time we've pushed to Pantheon, it's required running update.php. So for anybody that's been using it, it's already been a requirement. So it's not really something that needs to be tied in conjunction with 1.4, I don't think.
I just think that, you know, the more time goes by and we don't have that, the more our risk increases with all of the people that might not be running update.php. And especially, like, we haven't done the newsletter yet for 1.4. I think we should wait until that gets pushed to Pantheon, and then it'll drive people to the want to use in a new version, and maybe they'll update. And I think if we can get Drush up in there before all of that, that would be awesome. I agree we shouldn't probably hold it up, but I'll try and work some more on Drush up today. And I don't know if, Jeff, you want to try and if you have time to work on Drush up today for Pantheon, but maybe it would be good to kind of prioritize that over some of the other stuff, just because the more updates we push without it, the more we increase our risk.
Are you meaning UpDB?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take a look at it.
Oh,
Okay.
UpDB. I thought UpDB was already functioning, and it was up that you were working on.
Yeah, UpDB functions, but not in conjunction with Pantheon.
Right.
I don't know if they'd be willing to. I think they have a Drush install per every Drupal instance anyway, because it's in their container infrastructure. So I don't know if they'd be willing to install Drush for us on the container for Backdrop.
Can't we put Drush commands in our Pantheon Backdrop repo?
We can, but we haven't been successful with that yet, but I'll try that again today. Okay.
Let me know if you want. I've got a couple of Pantheon Backdrop sites we could poke at if you need more testing.
Yeah, I think I have one that Greg Anderson put on PHP 5.5, and I don't know if when he did that he made it so that all Backdrop instances go to PHP 5.5, because they were going to 5.3, which was also a problem because Drush doesn't work. It has to be 5.4 plus for Drush 8. And I wasn't clear if he did that, kind of tweaked that instance that we were working on, or if he did that for Backdrop across the board. Maybe I can ask him that ticket when I look at it today.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, sorry, that was a little off track. Backdropcms.org. So we've got a bunch of great progress going on. Gore, I saw you have a pull request ready for review that will set up single sign-on. I can't wait to try that. Looking forward to doing that today. That is fantastic. And then I noticed you had a question there about how to pull in user data and save it to the user object in Backdrop. I don't know if you've got an answer to that yet or not, but I can add a comment there and get that going. And that will enable us to pull over the username, profile picture, and the checkbox for being available for hire from GitHub, which I think will be fantastic. So yeah, we'll get that going any day now, which is really exciting. And then we also have started working on the backdropcms.org showcase. I know Eric has been working on setting up a content type for us. Just in the design meeting minutes ago, we agreed on a direction for design for our showcase pages for each site, which I think is going to be super exciting too. It looks really great, and I can't wait to see it. And Wes had some great ideas about how to build it, so I think we're moving forward on that as well, which is good. I know we had a little bit of a delay as we were all focused on Backdrop 1.4, but now that that's out of the way, we're able to kind of get some more of this done, which is good. And then the next big thing we're working on is forums. There was a little bit of a conversation last week about separate websites versus the same website. I think we've got that resolved, and we're going to move forward on actual setting up of what types of content we're going to need to figure out how to get some technical implementation details sorted, but we should have more on that shortly. I need to get the issue link and throw it into the agenda, but I'll do that shortly. And then we have a bunch of old kind of long-standing lower priority issues on the website that we could definitely use some help with. We have usage statistics now. We want to make them visible on the project pages, and also for Backdrop itself, maybe somewhere important like the homepage. We have improvements that can be made to the Find Modules, Themes, and Layouts pages. We've got designs for some of those and need them implemented. Some of them need a little design love. And then we need a couple follow-ups on the blog news announcement section, as well as the event listings and service provider listings. So all of those pages are there and they're working, but there's always room for improvement. And so we've got issues for each of those that talk about the other things we'd like to add to those sections. If anyone has time and ability and wants to help with site building stuff, we definitely could use lots of help with that. I know just in the past few weeks I made a couple of additional people, administrators on the site, so they could start clicking around and building more stuff for us. So if you want to work on those issues, let us know. We can get you what you need and tag some of those issues with your name to get them resolved. So, going pretty well. Next up here is our official blog schedule. As we did we talk about this last week? Yeah. Maybe we didn't, but Nate did manage to get his blog post out for benchmarking on Backdrop on different Backdrop in Drupal 7, which I think is fantastic. So that is on our website right now if you want to give that a read in the news section. We do have a couple of other blog posts in the works. I know everybody wants to write one. I don't know that we have anyone who will have one ready for tomorrow, but our blog schedule would have it be next Friday anyway. So if anyone can have a blog post ready by June 3rd, that would be awesome. No eager volunteers. Well, if you decide you want to have a blog post ready by June 3rd, add a comment to issue number 158 in the queue and we'll get you on schedule. We also have a couple, like Nate's going to do another one about expanding our core committers, and yeah, there's a bunch of great stuff to talk about. We have a newsletter that is going to go out as soon as we push that update to Pantheon, so that people don't get the newsletter and try and update their Pantheon sites and wonder why they can't. I have a draft of it in a Google Doc, but it's not in MailChimp yet. So if anyone wants to review the newsletter, I'll throw that in MailChimp today and send out a test if anyone wants to take a look at that for us to make sure I don't have any typos in there. That would be great. So let me know if you do, and I'll get you on that list. And then next in our agenda is to talk about Backdrop CMS itself. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Quick Sketch. That's you, Nate.
Sorry, mute. All right, yeah. So Backdrop CMS itself, as you guys all know, 1.4 came out on May 15th, which was very exciting. Yeah, we can remove that now. We had the last release of 1.3, which was 1.3.7, and that's available kind of as the last legacy release of 1.3. There are a number of issues that we've got as follow-ups for the next bug fix release of 1.4. We found a couple of minor issues that have been fixed and a couple of minor issues that haven't. One issue that I was looking at that I could use some help with, since I see Doc Wilmot is here, is the installer project installer module. There we go. The project installer module doesn't work with the manual uploading of archives right now. Everything else works fine, but for whatever reason, when you upload an archive, it tries to redirect to you, but it's in an AJAX request, and so nothing happens, and it just looks like nothing happens at all. But overall, actually a fairly minor issue for 1.4. So let's see. Yeah, just as things come up, keep filing those bug reports. We love to have them. We've been churning through them pretty quickly and trying to get them all fixed. So next release is September 15th. We have almost 4 months to make some awesome new projects and build some amazing new features into Backdrop Core. The primary items we've got right now are mostly the items that didn't make it into 1.4. The number one item on that list here is improving the rich text editor, which is a meta issue at 1087. We've got a lot of great ideas in that issue, things that are bug fixes, but also things like making it so that you can insert code tags easily, which is an ongoing problem, and reworking the way filter tips work and putting them into a less intrusive location, a better image browser, all sorts of things that we've got under that meta that we'd love to make improvements upon. We've also got reference module. Reference module is issue 1301. Mike's not in this meeting, but Mike had started that module, and it actually functions and works. But we'd like to move into core and also account for upgrade paths, which that could be the trickiest part of that particular issue, is dealing with node reference module, user reference module, entity reference module, and trying to make it so that we can accommodate all of those easily for people that are upgrading from previous versions of Backdrop, as well as 777 sites. Definitely probably the largest challenge in that issue. Issue 1301, if you'd like to take a look at that. New front-end theme in core. This one almost made it into 1.4, but we really put a focus on layouts to make it so that the new layouts happen, but that made it so that the new core theme slipped. It's issue 1361, the new core theme called Basis. We just had a design meeting just before this one that you can go back to if you would like to hear a lot more about that theme. But Wes, would you be up for giving a short update as well?
Yeah, sure. So the latest and greatest for Basis is back in Contrib, so you can check it out and use it there. It was basically developed in a repo in conjunction with layout, so it should cooperate well. I think it's minimum viable product kind of stuff is all done. Reverse compatibility, Flexbox, and all the kind of stuff that I wanted to get in. And now I really want to get in color module or some sort of color module implementation in before it's the default theme. And then we talked about maybe getting some other things done that are kind of related to the theme. We're getting like a hero component in, which wouldn't be in the theme, but would be related, and we definitely have some styles for that in the new theme, and then maybe a couple other components, and then also what was the other one? Different default config. So yeah, I think that was it. I can't remember if there's anything else that we talked about. Anyway, yeah, so if anyone wants to help, let me know. Right now I'm working on color module UI design, feeling that out. Ta-da.
Hey, Wes.
Yeah.
I did a proof of concept on
Yeah.
issue 1905. Can you take a look at that and see if that...
I just have it checked out on my local, and I'm going to try and figure out what, yeah. If you could actually help me after the call with like where I go to like look at stuff. I saw the code and I was like, okay, I don't know what to do still.
Yes,
Thanks.
will do.
Cool. Yeah, actually kind of related to some of the mock-ups that were done for Basis way back in the day. It looks like Jen re-added this to the agenda, is that we need a new homepage layout that is just a single column layout instead of being the two column layout. And that's been added back into the agenda, which is great. We nixed it prior to 1.4 being released. That issue is 1042, in which we're going to add a new front page layout that is there out of the box, so that way we can position some things on the front page besides just the River of News traditional /node front page that we've had in Drupal since forever. So yeah, that definitely opens up our options as far as making a better out-of-box experience for the front page. And then there's also the 1.5 milestone. There's a whole bunch. Wow, there's quite a few things in here. Anything that didn't make it into 1.4 was bumped to the 1.5 milestone. And you can find that on GitHub, and then under milestones, then click on 1.5.0. And you can find there's a whole bucket load of other issues that we'd like to see for that September release. In general, we mentioned this last year or last week. We're kind of angling the 1.5 release to be the editorial experience release, which will improve the way that we edit and create content. So the rich text editor fits into that, references fits into that. The front end theme, but I do think that it's good for us to have a focus and to put our attentions towards a particular area. And I think that the node form for this release is really where we should be putting some effort. So yeah, let's get at it. There's also two tags, UX and DX. You can find those. We're always working to improve them. User experience issues and developer experience issues as much as we can. And so you can find those on GitHub with square brackets UX or square brackets DX. Every Thursday is Backdrop Day. After this call, we spent some time going through the issue queue, working to improve the issues that are in progress, or in the case of Jeff and I, reviewing and committing issues. Hopefully, actually, in the case of many other people, also reviewing issues, because it really facilitates moving issues along if there are lots of people reviewing each other's work rather than just committers doing the reviewing and the sad case of rejection when more work is needed. So our primary place of communication is on GitHub, github.com/backdrop/backdrop-issues. You can also meet up with us in Gitter. It's a web-based chat, gitter.im/backdrop/backdrop-issues. We have an IRC channel, #backdrop in Freenode on IRC, and a Reddit channel for doing water cooler type discussions, reddit.com/r/backdrop. Let's see, upcoming events. There are some exciting ones. CivicCon is coming up in the very near future. It's in Fort Collins, Colorado, and it's June 2nd and June 3rd. And then right after that, the weekend after that is Twin Cities Drupal Camp, June 7th and June 10th. I'm not sure about CivicCon. It had been on our agenda to swing through there, but I'm not sure what our situation is for that yet. I know Jen and I will be at Twin Cities Drupal Camp. We will be having a full day training at Twin Cities Drupal Camp as well as a presentation. So if you're in the Midwest area and would like to hear more about Backdrop, it's a great opportunity to get a full day of Backdrop as well as just a catch-up session on how Backdrop is standing overall. There's a bunch more events on the website, backdropcms.org/events. I'll just wrap this up. Books. Beginning Backdrop CMS will be coming out next month, a little less than 30 days from now. So that's really exciting. It'll be the first full-length book on Backdrop, brought to you by A-Press and author Todd Tomlinson. He also has an existing book, Migrating from Drupal to Backdrop, available now from Amazon. And it's a short little book on how to move your site from Drupal 6 or Drupal 7 to Backdrop. That's it for the agenda. Let's move into general discussion. Do you guys have anything you'd like to bring up or talk about?
I just wanted to add, I'm going to add an item to the weekly agenda for documentation. I know it's something that we've been kind of on again, off again about, and I know that Andy and Doc Wilmot are doing a huge push this cycle to help get our editorial docs up, which I think is perfect. It kind of aligns with those of us who are doing a push on improving the editorial experience in the software. But yeah, I think having a focus on getting our documentation up to date is going to be good. And so I'm just going to put it in the agenda so we can talk about it. So if there are any blockers or anything we need to get moving every week, we can follow up on that as well. Doc Wilmot also asked why we still need contributors to create a repository before we accept them into the Backdrop Contrib group. And this is something, Nate, I think you were asking about last week too, where the Drupal community has had these ridiculous hurdles to allow people to become contributors. We kind of adopted an initial pattern of making sure that people understood like how things worked in the Backdrop world, but a lot of that was due to limitations in how things were on GitHub back then, and we don't have those same problems now. So maybe we should open this up for discussion and see what people think about our requirements for people to become Contrib developers for Backdrop.
So I'll elaborate on what I found is that Drupal community member I am Eep, which I don't know his real name, but that's his handle. He's been doing some historical analysis of the Drupal community, and he found that the peak of contributions to the Drupal Contrib world happened in 2012, and it's been declining ever since. And that had a coincidental, or maybe not so coincidental, a very strong correlation to when the the Drupal contributed applications issue queue went into effect. That basically there was more and more code being produced up until the point that they added the review process, and the review process became so cumbersome that the contributors or modules being created per month has been in decline ever since that process went into effect. And so, yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing, that maybe we could remove the review process and instead block it at the point that people try to make releases and do more automated testing at the release stage. So right now already, if you fail to put in stuff like required things like the type in the .info file, if the packager is unable to package your project successfully, then it posts back to GitHub and says, you know, here's a packaging error log with some problems with your project. That could be expanded to do things like a code check or a license file check or other things like that that make it so that the process of review is automated, so users still get protected from like just crazy Wild West code, but the hurdle is reduced for the initial contributions. But it might also be that we would just end up with hundreds of sandboxes that never had official releases. So I don't know. I do think that it's worth looking at. And some things like license.txt, we really don't need the license.txt requirements because we can do that at the packager these days. We didn't have the packager when we started, but it's also kind of nice to have the license.txt file in the repository in the first place, because a lot of analyses that people do on GitHub, they check for license files in the repositories rather than whatever we would say in the README. So there's still some value in having it in the repository, even if we could add it in the packager. So yeah,
do we ask people what they think? Like how do you guys feel about removing the review process? I mean, Gregory, you've been doing most of the reviewing. Have you seen anything that makes you worried about, like, if we'd removed that barrier, would we be opening a can of worms?
The only thing that might be there is access rights. If anyone can, because do we have limitations in place now that I think I recall an issue sometime that we could adapt did have now to limit the authors per project, whereas the way that I understand it is anyone who's a Contrib member can commit to any project, and we rely on their ethics to not do so. Maybe there might be malicious intents there by, I don't know, whoever. That's the only thing that I'm worried. We said that at some point that we could make it author per project and have like owners. That could help. Like if we implement that first, then maybe we can sort of like make it open for the rest. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. And if we look back at the history, if you go back to the Backdrop Contrib group and you look at the application for the Google Analytics author, we actually had like a really major like personality conflict there. That it actually was a very good thing that we had the review process in place, because it actually prevented what could have been kind of an uncooperative community member from being in charge of a rather important module. And he was doing it because he was mad at Drupal, and which isn't a very, very great motive to be a good maintainer for Backdrop.
I'm not sure about that, because he also ported that module of Drupal 8 at the same time, so we don't really know his motives.
Well, in any case, like that kind of reminds me that the review process actually has helped us in some situations that had we not had it, we might have been making a long-term problem for ourselves.
But do we still have, I mean, so I know when we first set up the Contrib group, anyone who was a member of the group could commit to any project. And so having that agreement that was like, don't do it unless it's your project was important. But we don't have that limitation anymore, right? Because GitHub changed the way their permissions work so that people can own their own projects even in another group. Is that true?
That is true, but that's not how it's set up currently.
Okay. Is it? Well, maybe we should look into changing that. I mean, I think maybe like we're all kind of on the fence as to whether this is a good idea or not. But if we look into figuring out if it's possible to change an existing group to work that way, and it turns out not to be, that'll answer the question. So that's one thing we could look into to see if it's even possible to change it. If it is possible, then that brings us back to the, can we solve most of our review via automation, and do we want to do that instead? I would love, personally, to lower the barrier to entry to getting more Backdrop contributed project people, whether they're maintainers or just throw their code up. And I don't necessarily see a downside to getting a ton of sandbox projects that don't end up having official releases either. I know trying to find things on GitHub is hard, but I feel like if those things are things that people are going to want to find often, they will become official releases, whether the person who wrote them makes them an official release or somebody else who's using it and becomes a maintainer makes it an official release. But yeah, I think lowering the barrier to entry would be good. I think moving the barrier to entry so that it becomes official project is also good. I don't know. In general, I'm in favor of removing the requirement, as long as you guys aren't worried about either malicious intent or any other problems we might have.
Yeah, we could also, if we wanted to keep the agreement, for example, we could also add a button like on backdropcms.org that's like, here's how you have to apply, and then they'd still need to go through the agreement, but the agreement basically would then grant them access to the repository, sort of thing, which would also be kind of, I think it's important that we keep that in place as well.
You can probably keep it somewhat informal in that, as long as you don't as long as we don't commit to providing people access, you can kind of open it up a little bit, but keep an eye on it. And if something goes squirrely, be ready to jump on it. Right? At the moment, we're a small enough community that it's not like we're super target for hackers, right? So I think the big fears are being bureaucratic and like keeping potential contributions out more than defending ourselves from attackers that aren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, in the really short term, we also could just go back to the current applications and just tell people, hey, we don't need to review your code anymore. You're now accepted. And people that are applying, if they just file an issue and we immediately give them the agreement, and then if they agree, then we let them in, and we just skip the modules entirely. So that would make it.
I think that would be good too, because there are a lot of people who are like, I want to join, but I don't have any code. And then we're like, well, you could become a co-maintainer or like find someone to help. And then it seems a little weird where it's like if they want to join, we want to let them join. You don't have to have code today. I would love to see that in terms of short term, like if we can just make the review process. If you agree to this agreement, you're in.
Right.
Gregory, how do you feel about that?
Well, now you guys talking, it reminds me of another thing. Sorry, I'll avoid that answer for just a moment. See, we have the sandbox, the PR sandboxes, and we have the automated installer as well, and we have the ability to point to repositories other than the official Contrib. So you have people, you empower them to have a server somewhere that they can upload any model they create, doing whatever they want, and sort of like abusing our server to do whatever their model does. So these things are always on my head, and I understand that we need to lower the barrier, but perhaps we can put up. War is not online now; he went away, but perhaps we can automate that by implementing some karma points system or something like that. So if other people actually recommend, or there's like main thing, just ideas popping in my head is like we cannot simply allow someone that has created a GitHub profile the past day and give them full access. That's, you know what I mean? Maybe we can implement a few automated limitations that do not need policing necessarily. It's just a point system or something. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so the issue is that because of the way the project browser works, if somebody creates a Contrib project and then creates an official release, it'll show up in project browser and other people can install things that may be malicious. It would be really easy for them to install things if there's no review process anywhere along the way there. So if we could automate something that would do a test, that would be fine. Even on the like publish to backdropcms.org step. But leaving it open, especially for like robots to come in and do it, would be bad news. Okay, so maybe let's talk to Gore and see what we can do in the automation step before we remove the sanity check on the module code. Does that sound okay to you, Nate?
Yeah,
Anyone?
I think that's fine. We also, I mean, the entire karma type thing of trying to evaluate somebody before they've actually submitted any code. For the time being, like the karma system is Klonos and I. Like we look at the person that is applying, and then we can evaluate their history and who they are and things like that, and just shoo them through the application process without that automation at this point. So I think even like technical details aside, like deciding whether or not if we want to skip the code review is the question at hand here.
I mean, I think I'd be in favor of skipping the code review to give them access to the Contrib group but I do see the worry about skipping the code review and letting them publish official release that shows up on backdropcms.org and in the project installer. So I think we should not skip the code review at all until we make sure that we have the right kind of protections on the publish project part of the step. Otherwise, we could end up with malicious robots doing whatever to everybody's websites.
Oh, robots. Well, no. I'm talking about like, so the people, they still need to go through the agreement. So they still need to post an issue to the Backdrop ops/contrib group and say, I would like to join. And then we say, okay, I'm going to look at your account, see who you are. And then I'm going to say, okay, you look fine. Here's the agreement. And if there's something suspicious, then I would ask them a question about, like, have you worked with Drupal before? Have you worked with Backdrop before? Or something to validate, their humanness. Yeah, and that would be it, right? And so, I mean, yeah, right now I was mostly just saying we can still have an acceptance policy, but we would just omit the code review from it. And John Taylor actually posted over here in the agenda chat that a new contributor should, of course, be able to request a review or request help if they're nervous about their own code quality. Then, of course, we would help them.
Okay.
Yep.
So now I'm back on the fence of thinking we should only require the agreement, but maybe we should add something into the agreement that says, like, would you like a code review, to make it seem more inviting, or let us know if you'd like a code review or something.
Yeah, we could change our process so that it would be user post request. We respond with boilerplate type response that says, welcome to the community. Would you like a review of your code? If so, please let us know where it is. This step is optional. If you would just like to commit, then please let us know. And then they respond, and then we post the either feedback or just the agreement, and then.
I think we should. That's too many steps. I think the response should be, let us know if you want a code review. If not, you must agree to this agreement.
I guess that would work, as long as they don't look suspicious, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be willing to give it a try. Okay. Yeah, everybody signs the agreement as best. Okay, let's move this offline from or online. Let's move it online into the Backdrop ops/contrib, the same place where we do the applications, because that's also where we discuss the processes around contrib, and we can kind of outline what we've discussed here, as well as the proposed skipping the review step. Gregory, could I ask you to write that up? Okay, awesome, thanks. That's kind of right up your alley. I really appreciate it, thanks. Okay, anything else that people would like to discuss?
Where is the Pantheon upstream? Is that in GitHub?
It's in Backdrop Ops.
Yeah, it's Backdrop Ops/Backdrop Pantheon. And there's just a master branch. So Pantheon pulls from a single branch right now. So, but the master branch is, of course, whatever gets delivered to Pantheon. So there's been 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. They've all been merged into that master branch.
All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, then we will see you in the issue queue, and we'll talk again this time next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Thanks, everyone, for watching.